I was unloading camping gear from my truck when I heard the sharp crack of a hand hitting flesh, followed by my wife screaming. I turned to see a stranger in a black tactical vest, standing in our driveway with his hand still raised while Jade held her face and stumbled backward. Before I tell you how my 16 years of special operations training kicked in, I have a question for you. How would you react if a stranger assaulted your spouse right in your own driveway? Let me know in the comments. If you believe that justice should be swift and severe for people who target military families, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. You need to see how the system, both civilian and military, made sure this guy regretted his mistake. My name is Donovan Wright. I am a 37-year-old active-duty Army Master, Sergeant serving with the 75th Ranger Regiment at Fort Benning, Georgia. I have spent the past 6 years in special operations conducting missions that required absolute discipline, split-second tactical decisions, and the ability to control violence with surgical precision rather than explosive chaos. My training had taught me to assess threats instantly, respond with exactly appropriate force, and maintain operational control even when adrenaline demanded. I destroy the threat completely. I was built compact and efficient from years of special operations, physical training, not bulky but functionally, strong in ways that mattered for carrying equipment over long distances, but none of that training mattered in the 2 seconds it took my brain to process that a stranger had just struck my wife in our own driveway while I was 10 feet away. The only thing that mattered was the cold rage that settled over me, tempered by 16 years of learning to control violence rather than be controlled by it. I dropped the camping gear and moved toward them with purpose but not panic, my training overriding emotion. Jade was holding her left cheek, tears streaming down her face, her expression showing shock and pain. The man who had struck her was tall and heavy, maybe 50 years old with gray hair, wearing a black tactical vest with fake patches and a clipboard. A second man in similar gear stood near a dark truck watching. "Get away from my wife," I said, my voice carrying the command authority that made Rangers respond instantly during operations. Right now, the man who had slapped Jade turned toward me with arrogance that suggested he thought he controlled the situation. "Sir, your wife assaulted an HOA Enforcement Officer. I defended myself using appropriate force. She is being cited for assault and obstruction." I looked at Jay, who was 5'4" and weighed maybe 120 lbs, a kindergarten teacher who spent her days helping 5-year-olds learn to read. The idea that she had assaulted anyone was absurd and offensive. "What happened?" I asked Jade, keeping myself between her and the man. "I was getting the mail, and he stopped me saying we had violations," Jade said through tears. "I told him we do not have an HOA and asked him to leave. He said I was interfering with official business. When I took out my phone to call you, he slapped me." The man stepped forward, holding his clipboard like authority. "I am Officer Rutherford Mason with Creekside HOA Enforcement Division. Your wife became verbally abusive and physically aggressive. I used minimal necessary force to defend myself. Every word was designed to justify violence against my wife while claiming official authority he did not possess." I looked at the red mark on Jade's face. I looked at his hand, still positioned aggressively. I made a tactical decision. I pulled out my phone and called 911 while maintaining visual contact with both men. "This is Master Sergeant Donovan Wright at 2743 Oakwood Drive. A man just assaulted my wife by slapping her in the face. I need police, and I need them now. I am active duty military with the 75th Ranger Regiment. The suspect is still on scene." The dispatcher's tone changed when I identified as a ranger. "Sergeant, units are responding code 3. Are you or your wife injured?" "My wife has visible injury to her face. The suspect is claiming to be HOA enforcement. I am maintaining visual contact, but not engaging physically unless he attempts to flee or assault my wife again. Rutherford tried to leave, walking toward his truck. I moved to block his path without touching him. You are not leaving. You assaulted my wife. Police are en route. You will explain to them why you struck a military spouse. The second man, Ambrose Locke, moved toward me aggressively. That was a tactical error. My training assessed the threat instantly. 2 suspects, one showing aggressive movement, confined space. I used a basic Ranger combative technique, redirecting Ambrose's forward momentum with minimal force and guiding him to the ground in a control position that immobilized him without causing injury. The entire movement took less than 2 seconds. Ambrose was face down on my driveway before he understood what had happened. Do not move, I said calmly. I have you in a restraint position. If you struggle, you will hurt yourself. Rutherford froze, clearly recognizing that I was not a regular civilian. Columbus police arrived 90 seconds later. Officer Parrish emerged first and immediately assessed the situation. Me maintaining control of one suspect, the second suspect standing motionless, and my wife holding her face. Sergeant Wright? Officer Parrish asked. Yes, sir. The suspect in the vest struck my wife. When his partner attempted to interfere with my 911 call, I restrained him using military combatives. Officer Parrish examined Jade's face. Ma'am, did this man strike you? Yes, Jade said. Officer Parrish turned to Rutherford with cold professionalism. Sir, you struck this woman. She was assaulting me by refusing to cooperate. Rutherford argued. I defended myself. Officer Parrish replied, That is assault. You are under arrest. As officers handcuffed both suspects, Detective Esther Crane arrived. When she learned I was active duty Rangers, she notified Fort Benning Military Police. Because crimes against military families are investigated jointly. CID Special Agent Morrison arrived within 2 hours. Sergeant Wright, Morrison said, assaulting a Ranger's wife while he was present shows either incredible stupidity or complete ignorance. We will ensure this is prosecuted as assault on a military family. The investigation revealed Rutherford and Ambrose had been running fake HOA scams across the Columbus and Fort Benning area, specifically targeting military families when soldiers were deployed, but they had encountered an active duty Ranger who was home. The trial took place 8 months later. Jade testified about being slapped unprovoked. I testified about witnessing the assault and restraining Ambrose without injury. The prosecution emphasized. Rutherford had struck a kindergarten teacher who weighed barely over claiming self-defense while her special operations husband watched. The absurdity was obvious. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes, guilty on all counts. Sentencing was harsh. Rutherford received 14 years in state prison with enhancements for assault on a military spouse. Ambrose got 9 years as an accomplice. 3 months later, Jade and I were having dinner. Donovan, she said, when he slapped me and I looked over and saw you, I knew he had made a terrible mistake. Not because you would hurt him, but because you would make sure he faced justice. 16 years in Rangers, I said. I have been trained to respond to threats with controlled precision. When he slapped you, every instinct wanted me to end him, but my training controlled that. I let the system handle it. That is what special operations discipline means. Controlling violence, not being controlled by it. If you, or a military family member, is assaulted or targeted by criminals, report to both civilian police and military CID immediately. Joint investigations ensure maximum prosecution. Special operations training means a controlled, professional response, not uncontrolled violence. Let the system work while the military community ensures justice.